Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight, and this is the 1.5 version. This is sort of a re-release, and in this video we're going to take a look at the differences between the original version and the 1.5. I pre-ordered this guy from AmiAmi.com. He arrived today, so let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, yeah, it looks like a little bit of stuff in Japanese. Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight version 1.5 DC and the Batman Arkham games. Here he is on the front, looking pretty badass. One side, Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi, the Arkham Knight. The other side, you can see two different sort of display. We have the Red Hood and the Arkham Knight. And in the back, here's the figure with a ton of different interchangeable parts and accessories. And there's the barcode if that helps. So with no further ado, let's open them up. And of course, I did get two of these figures, one of which to open and enjoy, the other one to keep unopened in my complete Batman-related unopened action figure collection. And here's a look at the packaging from the Arkham Knight 1.0. Alright, now that I got this figure out of the package, here he is with all the accessories laid out, and he comes with a ton of cool stuff. We have the Arkham Knight's signature rifle, dual-wielding pistols, a bunch of interchangeable pieces and armor pieces to change him between the Arkham Knight and Red Hood, 8 different hands, 2 knives, and 2 swords. Before I take a look at all that, let's talk about and check out this figure. In addition to those accessories, you also get Amazing Yamaguchi display stand, numerous pieces. It gives you a replacement peg for the wrists in case something breaks, which can be very useful if that unfortunate incident happens. And you also get some instructions, and it can be kind of useful because there are tons of interchangeable parts to know what exactly does what. Can be helpful. So this is the Arkham Knight from the video game Batman Arkham Knight. Turns out in the game it's Jason Todd the entire time, which was very predictable. In the comics, Arkham Knight is a completely different character, Astrid Arkham, and she looks exactly the same as Arkham Knight from the video games. In my comic world, I use this as Arkham Knight, Astrid Arkham, a completely separate character from Jason Todd. So let's take a closer look. Starting with his head, looks great. You have that sort of blue area of the helmet. It's kind of shiny, metallic. He's got the ears, similar to Batman ears, and the white sort of lenses for the eyes. As you go further down, he has some of the annoying aspects of Amazing Yamaguchi, those hideous shoulder ball joints. I mean, just look at that. It's so thin there and just so noticeable. I know you can sort of hide them and do all that sort of stuff. I'm not the biggest fan of Amazing Yamaguchi figures. I think their articulation is hideous and they're super stylized, but the Arkham Knight here is one of my favorites. Him and Batman from the Arkham Knight are probably the two best that they've released. But I mean, look at the sort of elbows here. It just looks so bad. As we go further down, I'm not a fan of the way the crotch is designed. His is better than most of the Amazing Yamaguchi figures, but some of them are just, I don't know, just look so stylized and so noticeable and so unrealistic. The way the articulation moves can be a little rough at times. Now, why the hell would they print that on the back? Trademark DC Comics in white letters onto his black belt. Very noticeable. Very dumb. He's got kind of double-jointed elbows and knees in the Amazing Yamaguchi style. The articulation is great, but it's hard to get it to look good without having to really try to cover up stuff and those sort of ugly things like this. It can look bad very easily, but if you take the time, you can cover it all up and make it look very good. Now, like I said, he's one of my favorite Amazing Yamaguchi figures. His articulation cuts are a lot less hideous than some of the other figures. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt, I think came out very nice. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if there was like a light inside and it shined, kind of like in the game. But as it is, it's sort of semi-transparent, glossy, metallic. I think it looks very sharp. Like I said, as much as Amazing Yamaguchi frustrates me, I enjoy this guy a lot. And that's a bold statement, considering I kind of went into this with a poor attitude. But this guy so far is awesome. And then here's the figure, broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, starting off with the display stand. Now let's look at its display stand. It comes in 3 separate pieces. When put together, it's going to look like this. It's got a base down here with a bunch of different slots that you can put the sort of peg into. Then it's got this post here, goes up, the bottom is hinged, can rotate, hinge in the middle, hinge near the top. Then it has this clamp that will hold your figure, and it can rotate. Now let's look at his hands. He has a total of 8 of them. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. Here's his next pair of hands. These are some open hands. They look like they could be some grabbing or choking hands. They could probably hold something pretty large. And here's his next pair of hands. His right hand almost looks like it's a gun hand. Not to hold an actual gun, but a sort of fake gun hand. And his left hand looks like it's pointing at something. Here's his left hand, kind of just pointing. And his right hand looks like they took a point from McFarlane's book. They gave these sort of fake finger gun hands. Pew pew. It's almost like they're mocking Warner Brothers for not allowing them to have their figures come with guns anymore. And here's his final pair of hands. These are some gripping hands with trigger fingers. I imagine this figure was originally supposed to come with a couple of pistols, but Warner Brothers' no gun mandate prevents that from happening. Since we're on the subject of his trigger fingers, I was wondering if the DC Direct Arkham Knight rifle and pistols would work with this guy. But I tried to put him in there, and his hand is completely sealed. The thumb is attached to the middle finger here, just barely. I'm going to take a knife and just sort of slice that open. In addition to his 8 hands, he also comes with 2 replacement wrist pegs, just in the off chance one of them breaks when swapping out the hands. It's actually very kind of them to do. I've had that happen many a time with other figures, and it completely ruins the figure. Now let's look at his guns. And these are the accessories that could not come out with the 1.0, as Warner Brothers had a no gun mandate. Any officially licensed DC figure could not come with guns in any way, shape, or form, but that seems to be loosening up at least a little bit, especially with the more expensive premium figures. So we have that signature rifle from the game. Looks pretty cool. It's got a very thin butt, thin barrel. And then we have these dual pistols. Now in the game, you can sort of put these pistols together, and they turn into the rifle, and then took them apart and had 2 pistols. Pretty cool to have both versions and options as accessories. Here are the DC Direct versions of these weapons, next to the amazing Yamaguchi versions. Here's a look at the Arkham Knight, holding onto that rifle. And then here he is, holding those 2 pistols. Now he has these 2 knives. These look like something that would come with Slash from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We have the knife here. The handle's not bad. A little bit of sculpting detail there. Some jagged part of the blade. The blade itself is twisted. I mean, it looks good, but he never had a knife like that in the game. Here's the Arkham Knight, holding his 2 knives. Now the only gripping hands he has are the trigger finger hands. Cannot imagine he was originally supposed to come with these knives. Now we have his 2 swords. He didn't use swords or knives in the game whatsoever. These swords look kind of weird. The blade is red. I mean, it looks good, but definitely not usual. And the base here, a little bit of sculpting detail on the handle. And here he is, holding both the swords. They look okay with him, but I don't associate Arkham Knight with swords. So the next thing to look at is going to be his transformation from the Arkham Knight to Red Hood. And the way I see it, we have about 4 different looks you can give this guy. Number 1, we have the Arkham Knight in his sort of blue armor. Then we could have the Arkham Knight with the red armor. Then you could have Red Hood with the red Arkham Knight armor. And you could also have Red Hood with the bat symbol on his chest. As you can see, here are all the different interchangeable pieces laid out. Quite complex, quite a bit of stuff, but it gives some pretty cool different display options. Let's start off by looking at the standard Arkham Knight. So here's the Arkham Knight in his most traditional attire. He's got the blue chest armor, the blue armor on his biceps, a little blue sliver here, but he still has the red, white, and black camo outfit. And here's the Arkham Knight with his red armor. I don't think the Arkham Knight actually looked this way in the game. I think that was later when he had his Arkham Knight helmet off and the red hood helmet on. But I think it actually looks pretty good on the Arkham Knight. It matches his red, black, and white camo armor. He's got the red chest piece, red sort of bicep area, red sort of light on his armor, red shoulder pads. Here's the red hood in the red Arkham Knight armor. And finally, here he is with the Batman symbol on his chest. This is going to be red hood in my collection, and then the blue figure will be Arkham Knight. That is why I got two of these figures to open. They're going to be completely different characters in my action figure collection. And now that I have three of these guys, I can utilize all the different display options. Although maybe not quite intended this way, I decided to keep an Arkham Knight with the red armor, an Arkham Knight with the blue armor, and then Red Hood with the Batman armor. This is how they'll be on my shelves, and there are absolutely no differences between the Arkham Knight 1.0 and 1.5 besides the accessories. Articulation, armor pieces, paint job, it's all the same. I mean, maybe just a tad different due to factory differences over the years. But this is how I'll display my amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight Jason Todd figures. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 6.3 inches tall, which can translate to about 16 centimeters. And if you go to the top of the ears, about 6.5 inches tall. Now let's look at his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side, up and down about that far. It can also kind of do that. Can't tilt his head from one side to the other. Give him a good amount of personality. His articulation, a ball joint at the bottom of the head, as well as another one at the bottom of the neck. Shoulders on a ball joint, and it's probably about the most hideous thing on the figure, especially when you extend it in certain directions. You can just see how thin it is up there. So it's a ball joint. It also has rotation at sort of the bicep area. It has rotation at the base as well. His shoulder pads here, they can kind of move around to get out of the way as needed. He's got a bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows. They go in quite far with rotation at either the bicep and the forearm. His wrist here can rotate and it's hinged. In his waist, looks like we have ball joint rotate, go forward and back. Goes forward pretty far. His legs, pretty much does the splits. It's a ball joint, although you can't really see in there too good. He's got rotation at the thigh. Looks kind of like a single jointed knee, but it goes back considerably more than 90 degrees. He does have a little bit of rotation down here at sort of the ankle area. Now, his holster pieces, his weapons, his ammunition, as well as his shins, they can move out of the way. There's really no need for that, but in certain poses, it can be nice to get out of the way. His ankle here, forward and back, kind of rotate a little bit, can tilt, all kind of different directions. And there is toe articulation. So to talk about his articulation for a minute, it is very impressive. He is super articulated, but a lot of it is a pain in the ass. And with a lot of it, you'll expose these horrible looking joints, in particular his shoulders and his elbows. You have to work really hard to cover those things up, and I find that really annoying. Yes, I appreciate some of the stuff he can do, but if you have to work really hard to strategically hide his joints, that is just not how an action figure should be. Here's Arkham Knight on the Arkham Knight shelf with his militia around him. And here's Red Hood in his base or lair. Here's a closer look at the Arkham Knight in a ruined, abandoned building. His Arkham Knight militia have been just wreaking havoc on Gotham City, and this is the end result. And then here's both the Arkham Knight and the Red Hood, both standing in a ruined, beat-up building. Now let's check them out, compared with some other action figures. Starting off with some other Arkham Knight figures and some other Red Hood figures. Here's the amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight next to the DC Collectibles Arkham Knight. I'll tell you, I prefer the DC Collectibles figure. He looks a little more normal, although his articulation is very stiff and subpar. This amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight is the second Arkham Knight they've made in the 6 and 7 inch scale. These are the only two out there. Now, the amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight is technically Jason Todd from the Arkham Knight video game, but like I said before, in my action figure world, I use Arkham Knight as a completely different villain. They did incorporate Arkham Knight into the comics, and it wasn't Jason Todd, so that's kind of what I have going for mine. Here's Arkham Knight, next to all of my Arkham Knight Militia figures. Most of these guys are customs, and a couple of figure substitutes. Now these guys are not scaled up with the amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight. He's a little bit more than 6 inches tall. These guys are meant to fit in with my DC Collectibles Arkham Knight collection. Here's the amazing Yamaguchi Red Hood, next to the DC Collectibles Arkham Knight as Red Hood. Pretty similar figures, different scale. Once again, I definitely prefer the DC Collectibles figure. And here, next to the DC Collectibles Arkham Knight Red Hood. This is Red Hood from the DLC that took place after the Arkham Knight storyline. Here are all of my different Jason Todd as Red Hood figures. These figures are by McFarlane Toys, DC Direct, DC Collectibles, Mattel, and Amazing Yamaguchi. Here he is, next to several more Jason Todd figures. From left to right, we have the Mattel Jason Todd as Red Hood, but he's not in his traditional biker outfit. Then, DC Direct Jason Todd as Batman. In the center, the amazing Yamaguchi Red Hood. Then a DC Direct Jason Todd as Hush. And then a Mafex Jason Todd as Hush. Here are a couple of Jason Todd and Civilian Tiger figures. On the left, we have a 7-inch scale McFarlane Jason Todd. And on the right, that one is a 6-inch scale and uses a Hasbro Marvel Legends body. Then, next to a couple of Mattel DC Universe Classics Dick Grayson as Robin figures. Way back in the day, they made 2 of these guys, 2 different head variations. I always used the one on the left as Dick Grayson and the one on the right as Jason Todd. And now, next to a couple of DC Direct Joker as Red Hood figures. And here he is, next to the Red Hood gang. Now let's check him out, next to some other amazing Yamaguchi figures. Here's the amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight, next to their first Batman and Deathstroke. And I hated amazing Yamaguchi figures when these came out. Really didn't like the way they looked, didn't like the way they moved, didn't like their hideous ball joints in their shoulders and elbows. But, in my opinion, they have slowly been improving since then, but still a long way to go. Way too stylized. I really don't like the way their sort of hips or crotch area looks. The ball joints are hideous. I don't like the articulation scheme, and they're really Asian stylized. And here, next to the amazing Yamaguchi Harley Quinn, they made 3 variations, 2 color variants, and there was even an Ami exclusive. Now these figures looked a whole lot better than Batman and Deathstroke. The articulation is a lot more seamless, and they're still very anime stylized, but that's the whole point. Next, they released the Joker. On the left, we have the 1.0. On the right, the 1.5. They look pretty much the same. The 1.5 maybe does a little bit of a better job hiding some of those ugly joints. I think they took a step backward. I hate his long neck. I don't like the way the face looks. And those shoulders are just hideous. And of course, we have these 3 versions of the Arkham Knight. The red version, the blue version, and the Red Hood version. And since the Arkham Knight, they've made both Batman and Catwoman from the Arkham Knight. These figures are very nice. I really hate the way Batman's sort of hips and crotch area looks. He's way too big and bulky. But the hideous ball joints are hidden very nicely on him. And beyond the sort of crotch area, he looks damn good. And besides the legs being a little bit thick, kind of reminds me of Arkham Origins. And then Catwoman here is also a very nice figure, although her proportions are a little off. I mean, look how big those hips are. Childbearing. And then you have the ball joints, which are better on her than some of the previous figures. So, really happy with their Arkham Knight offerings. They are top-notch, and I hope they continue to make more stuff for the video games. Here's my entire collection of amazing Yamaguchi figures. I don't know what's going to be coming out next in their DC line, but I've noticed a steady improvement with them, and I'm happy the line's going. I hope they continue to do a better job of hiding the joints, making the figures move a little smoother, and look a little less stylized. I'd say the Arkham Knight, Batman, and Catwoman are by far their best offerings, and the original Batman and Deathstroke are their worst. Now let's check them out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how they fit in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix them with. Since they are amazing Yamaguchi figures, They're typically 6-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of these smaller action figure lines I collect and work my way larger. Here they are, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. And here they are, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here, with some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Mattel, DC Universe Classics, and Multiverse figures. And here they are, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestling figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And here, with some NECA figures. And now, next to some McFarlane toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here they are, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. And finally, next to some Jack-specific wrestling figures. So overall, it's a pretty nice Arkham Knight figure. Now, if you've been watching this video, it's no secret to you that I'm not a huge fan of Amazing Yamaguchi figures. I really hate the way their articulation looks. Frankly, it's hideous. I'm not a fan of the way their sort of crotch and hip area looks. But they're getting slightly better with each and every release. Now, this Arkham Knight here is stacked with accessories, interchangeable parts. Some would be kind of a pain to do, but the end result is pretty damn cool. You have the Arkham Knight, and the Red Hood, and something kind of in between. Now, I appreciate this version we're coming with the guns. I know the last one could not, due to reasons out of their control. And I imagine the figure sold pretty nicely, so it's good for people to get a chance to get him for a regular price, and with enhanced accessories. His sculpt and paint job are top-notch, no issues there. His articulation, even though it's supposed to be the super articulated figure, I think the articulation itself looks hideous, and I don't think it's nearly as articulated as you would expect. I find some things are kind of limited and awkward. If I were to rate this figure, probably going to give 7 out of 10, and if it weren't for those hideous ball joints in the shoulders and the sort of crotch area, he'd easily be worth an 8. Hope they can find a fix to make those look better and function better. So this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.